Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and we're here for another live WAM headlines show. Later on, after I finish doing my Freedom Minute segments, we're going to invite John Snyson, our economic analyst here at WAM, to sit down with us. But for now, we're going to go through a few different news stories. As I usually do, I put a few, live videos to edit live while doing them up on the screen, and I use them later on for Freedom Minute segments, so it helps, get more of a message out to more people. Either way, the idea is that I'm going to be talking, and then as I'm talking, I'm going to lead it off, but don't go anywhere because I'm still going to be here, and then I'll do more, and then after we will take questions. Now, it's a little bit exhausting lately. My girlfriend accidentally hit me in the face in my sleep, so it gave me a bit of a headache, and I'm a little bit slower than usual, but I'm sure it was accidental. Anyway, we're going to get into a few news stories here, and we are going to set off right away. It looks like we aren't reaching our subscribers in the subscriber feed. As it appears, there's not a whole lot of people tuning in. Usually we're at about 60 to 80 viewers by now. Right now we have 2 people watching. That sounds about right. So hello from the Philippines, says Yondam Hokage. Hello, very good to see people from all over the world on here. Daryl Lacour says hello from bankrupt Connecticut. We've done a few videos, I think, on bankrupt Connecticut. I think everything's kind of bankrupt at this point. We'll get into that later on. Anyway, I'm gonna start off my first Freedom Minute video. Don't go anywhere after I sign out because I'll still be here. All right. Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here for another Freedom Minute update. And today we have a story that's interesting to say the least. So recently, Credit Karma did a study on crypto investors filing taxes, which showed that only 100 of 250,000 filers, or 0.04% of people, actually declared their Bitcoin earnings to the state. Now, of course, this isn't an average when it comes to all agencies, just Credit Karma, but it certainly is a telltale sign of the future. So let me just explain why this is a win for all of us. A lot of us crypto investors have been concerned leading up to tax day that we would see a major dip, but it appears vast numbers of people have a brain. Taxation is theft, and laws against cryptocurrencies are largely unenforceable. The mainstream media can spread FUD all day if they please, but overall, they can only throw out so many fake stories about fake laws in countries that cannot humanly regulate or ban Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as much as they desperately want to. So instead, the big investors are getting in instead. And I've gone into this before. People like Twitter's Jack Dorsey attacks crypto, but buys it at the same time. It's called word of mouth market manipulation. As we bounce off the death cross, as we theorized happening a couple weeks ago, we are seeing a very minor recovery, but the waters are getting a lot less shaky. And the best part is government is unable to regulate, tax, and ban cryptocurrencies. Now, it's important to mention that the government always claim cryptocurrencies are for tax evasion, money laundering, or funding terrorism. The problem with that is tax evasion is far easier and less traceable with cash, and 99.9% of terrorist funding comes from fiat. So if one is going to go by that example, we may as well, ban all fiat. Of course, that wouldn't benefit the central planners attempting to make debt slaves of us all. Well, anyways, stay tuned as we continue to cover the latest crazy news in cryptocurrencies. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right, now let's see what we got here. I'm going to go into a few other stories. I'm not doing as many today. If you just tuned in, as I mentioned, I got hit in the head in my sleep very hard accidentally. And I've got a really bad pounding headache, so it's kind of making me stupid. And a lot of you, the trolls watching anyway, will say, well, that's every day. Well, yeah, maybe. But we will have John Snyson come in soon. I've got 2 more stories to do. As I mentioned, I'm not totally with it today. So I only have 3 stories prepared, but we will take questions from the audience as soon as possible. So let me just go to my next story here, get it loaded up on my other computer. Let's see here. Okay. I gotta love it when I'm doing a video and I'm reading something and pop-ups are coming up over the screen. That's what happened just a moment ago. Well, anyway, people get to see how it works when I do these videos, record these videos, and how I edit them, at least live. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna get into the next report. Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here for another Freedom Minute update, and today we're talking about this. Well, we all hoped we'd heard the last of Mitt Romney, the mega liberal rhino, in 2012, but it looks like he's back in the headlines following his announcement that he'd be running for Senate. Well, I guess, I put this question out to all of you. Guess who's backing him? The same people who backed both him and Obama in 2012. The highly bubbled Wall Street and big banks, which are almost entirely insolvent, by the way. Henry Paulson, the former CEO of Goldman Sachs, as well as former Treasury Secretary, has been backing Mitt as well. He's also getting backing by people like George W. Bush. It's like deja vu all over again. Mitt Romney is being looked at as a potential leader in Congress. Apparently, people forgot that not only does the guy have no charisma, but he has no principles. Well, when will people learn that these people simply want to rob the populace? That they do whatever their donors tell them to do? That they read scripts like robots and don't give a damn about the individual, but simply the plan set forward by other terrible men to collectively coerce the populace. The fact that people are actually turning to someone like Mitt Romney is incredibly depressing. Who looks at a guy like Mitt Romney and says, I'd love for him to tell me what to do and how my money should be spent? This is called devolving. It doesn't matter what party has leadership. It doesn't matter if it's the lesser of or greater of evils. We will simply repeat our mistakes for eternity, dead on our knees in apathy. May individualism reign. The government will not solve the problems of government, and depending on the state will only perpetuate every problem we currently have. Mitt Romney can go to hell where he belongs. There's likely a subsection of hell reserved for politics and politicians. Thanks for joining us for another Freedom Minute update. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right, guys, let's see what we have next. We've got quite a few people now tuning in. Good, keep it coming. Share the video. Make sure to press like on the video. We have another Freedom Minute update to do, and then John Snyson's going to be sitting in with us and taking some questions from the audience. Now, this one is, I don't know if you'd call it humorous. It's hard. All news stories these days are kind of negative. But, we got to look at the negative to make positives of them. It's important. Now, going into the next Freedom Minute update. Okay. Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here for another Freedom Minute update. Mariah Carey is being called out for sexual harassment again. Now, last year in November, Mariah Carey was accused by a bodyguard of sexual harassment and harassment in general. Apparently, she paraded around naked and called him names constantly. She also stiffed him for a bunch of money, according to the bodyguard's lawyer. Well, now her former manager and longtime friend Stella Bulachnikov alleges that not only was she also stiffed for money, but that Mariah Carey constantly sexually harassed her, parading around naked and forcing her to look. Now, a lot of you might say that's not such a bad thing. I don't know. It kind of creepy in my opinion. Interestingly, the news stories about this sexual harassment claim don't mention the previous claim, which I happen to recall and searched for using specific dates for news articles. Carrie just came out about her bipolar disorder, which surprised nobody. She's known for stiffing people. She was called out for stiffing a Christmas choir last year. This is someone who's made hundreds of millions of dollars. Perhaps she should get a better accountant. Either way, she seems terrible. Hollywood, the music industry, politics, media, basically every elite industry is filled with degenerates and sick people who've got so much money they search elsewhere for power. Power over others. The next most extreme thing. And we are supposed to lead our children to look up to these people. Anyways, we'll be back at you with much more. Thanks for watching another Freedom Minute update. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. All right, now we will bring John in. We got John Snyson here walking in with his laptop. Let me just get some stuff out of the way. We will take some questions. Get this old laptop out of the way. All right. Hey. All right, let's make sure this is even so we can see everyone here properly. Yeah, get rid of that. All right. All right, so it's a good time to start sending in your questions. We are most likely to be able to take the super chat questions. As we see, we have a lot of people tuned in, lots of people writing comments, and the super chats help us stay alive as YouTube demonetizes us, and we have the SPLC and ADL coming in and demonetizing us and calling us hate speech. Anyway, so John, what do you think? My first question is, what do you think is like craziest news story we're facing currently right now?
I gotta mention, it's funny when I actually was just looking it up as I was waiting here. Starbucks will close 8,000 U.S. stores on May 29th for racial bias training.
I know. You know what annoys me so much about this? Well, first of all, their facade is totally see-through. They were putting black employees from one place to another when the CEO was coming. There are stories about that all over the place. But what's interesting is that these people were harassing the workers at the Starbucks, and yeah, okay, we can all argue all day about whether businesses should say, well, you're not allowed to use a bathroom, make people pay for stuff at the business, but it's their private property, whatever. But it just happened that the people happened to be African American, so they're saying it's racism and that it's discrimination. Well, apparently these people were refusing to leave and were harassing the people at the Starbucks, and apparently it's happened before with other people. But the news doesn't talk about that. They just talk about, well, these poor souls were harassed and discriminated against. Yep. It's absolutely absurd, and it's amazing how much liberals care about bathrooms. It's like anyone should be able to go into any bathroom. The government should force businesses to allow both genders to be in one bathroom, or all 5,000 genders, or whatever you call it these days. It's so ridiculous. You got something else here, John?
Well, what I found another interesting story here is, of course, from England. It's Barclays, and what they are launching is what's called a green mortgage, where now, of course, with Agenda 2030 being pushed really hard, sustainable development, all this, they are now putting out mortgages that you actually be eligible to get a mortgage with a little bit less, and also you're going to be under the Help to Buy scheme, which we talked about in great detail, how stupid it is. The actual government gives you money as a down payment because you can't pay it. It's just insane, Josh. And then, of course, like, they will base you upon X amount, like the energy performance certificate EPC rating from A to B, so it depends on how good your mortgage is. And it's another thing to put on top of, and who knows with this implementation, Josh, if they can start to say, well, if you don't build a green home, we are not going to give you a mortgage. So, right.
Well, it's so insane, and there's a lot of this kind of push by governments around the world. We know what's happening with the Sesame credit in China.
The Sesame credit is just insane, and of course, China is becoming, a powerhouse when it comes to AI, when it comes to augmented reality. Their police uses augmented reality glasses. Like, think about that. They literally are imprisoning people by seeing them in their glasses. They pop up. The facial recognition software actually says this is a criminal right there. It's getting like really bad.
Well, I wanted to go into a question that we have coming from the audience here, and it's from Daryl Lacours, who asks, what country has more debt per capita, Canada or the U.S.?
More debt per capita privately. Let me just look that up. Just give me 1 second, guys, and I'll find that number for you right away.
Should I just start quoting while you're doing that? My usual talking points?
Oh.
Populace in debt is a populace in servitude, and if they shove you down a bottomless pit of debt, you are forced to ask for a ladder up from the government and the banking system, which puts you in perfect servitude to them. Maybe I said that a bit too fast. But John always likes to make sure that he's got 100% the facts here. So he's going through Trading Economics, which is a good website to look at for this kind of
for the government numbers.
Yeah, the official numbers. It's always good to listen to, but
just 1 second, guys. I'll pull it up right away.
I would think that Canada has more, personally. I feel like just the level of centralization that we face in Canada is insane. Let me just see here. That's more debt per capita. Oh, we are getting quite a few viewers. Make sure to keep sharing this video and ask your questions. We will try to get to as many of them as possible. So, John, you have an answer?
So this is not debt per capita, but this is debt to GDP, which is very important. How much debt is needed to actually have a certain amount of GDP? Now in Norway, the highest, which is very interesting, is Luxembourg, and who's there are a lot of in Luxembourg. Well, it's a lot of European elites. We know Jean-Claude Juncker, the former Nazi heir to the Juncker family, and in Germany, that's currently leading the Fourth Reich.
If you call it leading, he's just hanging around drunk all the time. I'm pretty sure. But
but anyways, it's Luxembourg. 483.88% to GDP, and these are not the current numbers. A lot of them. These are actually 2016. Actually, I see there's some new numbers up now from 2017. Finally, I've been waiting for. It takes about half a year for them to get it out because they don't want to show people right away how bad it is. But you got Ireland, number 3, they're above 400%. Iceland, 314. They have gone down substantially from their top of 400, but still they're really high. They haven't really recovered. I actually did a BBC radio interview recently talking about the economy in Iceland and how it's doing. They were, thinking that it's doing fantastic because they're in Hulls in England, they're sending modular homes to Iceland because they have a massive housing shortage over in Iceland. Actually, Iceland's economy has a lot of young people, so I think there is a lot better future there when it's less dependency. They still have a huge government there, unfortunately, and a big backdrop for people. So they still have some issues, and you can see by the debt they're in, they still having huge issues. Norway is number 4, Denmark is number 5, Belgium number 6, Portugal number 7, Canada number 8, Sweden number 9, and Netherlands is number 10. And it's funny, you see all those countries there are the heavy socialist countries that we always get told that it's it's so wonderful in those Norwegian, in those Scandinavian countries. Everybody is so happy. I highly suggest you come and meet a lot of people and family that I know and ask them if they're truly happy about the way they're paying taxes, and you might not see so happy people.
And talk about Stockholm syndrome if someone actually feels happy about paying taxes. I love being stolen from and giving to the military-industrial complex and paying the interest on the debt that is created at the creation of fiat. It's totally insane, but
there's some people though that love to do that, and of course in Norway we have our Workers' Party, the Arbeiderpartiet as they're called. They're constantly saying we need to pay more taxes in order to save the economy, because actually Norway is running a minor deficit right now, and that is not very usual for a massive oil country like Norway. You've seen that with all these oil countries that was heavily dependent, and of course the worst one was South Sudan and of course Venezuela that we're seeing both of them are in hyperinflation right now.
Hello to STEEMIT Surfer Review. He says, Hi, Josh and John, my STEEMIT compatriots. The March Hare insists I keep staring at him. I swear I'm not violating you. But apparently he was also friends in high school with Adam Kokesh, which is quite
stuff.
interesting. It's interesting backstory there. Adam Kokesh is a good friend. He's awesome. Let's see. We got a few questions coming in. I want to get to one of them here. A lot of comments mixed with questions. Sean Ree Ha says end usury. I think we've done a few reports on how precise the hate for usury is, considering there's a few different contexts that we can look into.
Well, usury, when it comes to usury, there's of course the way usury is used. Now, of course, I think we should have voluntarily people being able to have usury as interest. I think compounding interest is fraudulent, to be honest with you. But simple interest, if I borrowed money to Josh and Josh said, well, I can't pay you back until 3 months from now. Well, I would say, like, I really needed the money, but if you actually can pay me a little bit of an interest, I'd be willing to give you that money, and then it's just a benefit. But then the problem becomes when usury becomes a big part of the economy and everybody's in usury, and that's where you have when the central banks and the banking system, the fractional reserve banking system, that's what created usury on a grand international scale, and that's what's dangerous.
Yeah, and the key word that he mentioned there is voluntary. So I mean, I would even say even if it's fraudulent, if you sign the private contract, folks, you should probably read up on it a bit and understand what you're getting into, because then yes, it's their fault, but it's also your fault, and you have volunteered to be defrauded. So I mean, that's a big part of it that needs to be mentioned as well. But we got a comment here from Michael Holiday, who sent $5 on the super chat. Thank you very much, Michael. He says, do you think Agenda 2030 lines up with the solar minimum because they will use skyrocketing food prices for population control?
Well, I actually listened to a lot of people that talk about the solar minimum and the danger for food shortages and how that's going to, they talked about the little ice age, what happened with the French Revolution. I talked to Tim Ball about that, actually, very interesting.
In the 1600s in the seas of Britain?
Yeah, and there was a big volcanic eruption at the time as well that, made a lot of food very hard to grow in Europe. And what happened was that prices on food was starting to skyrocket. People started to get angry. And then, of course, government had to spend more money. So what happened was hyperinflation, of course, by the assignat back in the time. I don't know exactly if that Agenda 2030 is supposed to be with the solar minimum, if that's set up, if they have planned to do that. If we have a solar minimum of what is like what I heard from experts, it's not going to be very fun to live up here in Canada. I think we need to move something very warm, Josh, in order to survive properly, because we're looking at a mini ice age here in Manitoba. It's not going to be very good for us.
Yeah. We had Lake Agassiz here a long time ago that took over almost, and it went all the way down to the U.S. From Hudson Bay and that whole area. Anyway, it was a massive lake. There's still a bit of it left, Lake Winnipeg, which is one of the biggest lakes in the world. But let's cross our fingers for some actual global warming.
Yeah.
What happened? Al Gore said that the ice caps in the north would be gone by 2013. Or by 2009 would be drowned.
But anyways, like, back to seriousness with this whole thing. I think it has I think we have more worries actually for a mini ice age than we have for mass global warming on a global scale. Because what you got to understand as well, when it comes to plants, they're really starved right now. I talked to experts like William Happer, a physicist. And I talked to a lot of other people, Lord Monkton. I talked to Tim Ball, and all of them are saying, plants are starved at 400 parts per million, 440, whatever it is now. Actually, I was looking up the studies and looked at greenhouse gases. How much they pump into a greenhouse? Well, it's 1,200 parts per million in order for it to grow better. So we're actually, a lot of experts are saying that we're actually starved of, now. And who knows? Like, it's very hard to say, but I think it's way more of a external factor than an internal factor when it comes to any global warming.
And we've talked about, the ice caps melting on Mars and Jupiter's moons and all that. There's no SUVs up there. It's really important to mention that ice caps have to melt. They always melt after an ice age. They always recede after an ice age. It is completely natural for that to happen. And on top of that, I think Lord Moncton went into with me how many more times, literally not, I think, tripling or quadrupling the amount of carbon output in the air today to actually cause a massive event, which would still take a long period of time.
Yeah, for it to actually be by the numbers that they claim.
Yeah, exactly.
The hockey stick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think there's been a lot of lies out there about how it's affecting us, and personally, it's been a lot about taxation. We've seen the carbon tax.
100%.
In Canada.
That's
a tax on everything.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing, Josh. Taxation is, of course, and we saw how unsuccessful they were about that in Norway. Now, I had somebody attack me saying that I said 42% rise in carbon emissions in Norway because they said, well, it's only 12% carbon emission per capita increase in Norway. Well, I said, well, listen, the population have increased by 1 million people, so you got to add on those 1 million people, and then voila, you got 42%. So in Norway, of course, the carbon taxes has not worked. Just terrible idea to tax for anything to stop it. You see that with tobacco, with alcohol. It's just BS idea, but it's a lot of money to be made.
And inflation. And I think it's important to point out if all these global governments and the United Nations and everything are involved, don't you think that cui bono, who benefits? There's a reason why this is happening, and we can say all day, humans could be slightly affecting the weather, and it's true, we are slightly affecting the weather, but I think the exaggeration has gone so overboard, where we were seeing in the 1970s a global cooling epidemic coming, and then global warming, and then climate change. And the fact of the matter is, weather patterns take so many centuries and sometimes millennias that when people see something crazy, they're not as used to it, so they jump to a conclusion that there must be an answer to why that's happening, and to say that, oh well, the most scary thing on the planet really is weather, and to say that humans are causing it caused a lot of people to go, okay, take my money, take my subservience, I will bend a knee to you because you guys said that we are causing this problem. Maybe we should depopulate a whole bunch of people, etc. And it just gets to a point where it's a huge fraud bestowed on mankind, and there's no doubt that there are crazy weather events happening. There was an mini ice age in the seas of Britain. There was a huge heating event in the 1200s, I believe, in medieval times. There's all this kind of stuff repeating over and over
about
again.
4.4 billion years ago, there was just volcanoes everywhere. So it's Earth changes over time, and but it does. So anyway, it's just very important to understand that our Earth has just been in constant change ever since it was created, back in the day, and it's constantly changing. We have our tectonic plates moving around. They played a little a scare on us down in Acapulco there when we
7.5
had a 7.2, which is
it's
a huge earthquake. When you look at it, there's.
And then a few minutes later, we were hanging out with Ron Paul. Craziest moment.
Well, I think ever. Ron Paul, personally, I think Ron Paul caused it. It was a monumental shift in humankind, in our intellect and thoughts. Yeah, exactly. That's what happened down in Acapulco, and that's why that earthquake happened. It was HARP. It was HARP. Yeah, of course.
Well, but
we're getting a little bit off topic.
I think these kinds of events are going to happen. And one guy wrote here, let me just find it. Smuffter16 says global cooling would be much worse for us than global
100%.
warming, and both are bad. But global warming would be much better because plants would grow and we'd have oxygen and we'd have life on Earth. And global cooling is a much terrible issue. Anyway, we got a whole bunch of things coming in, so we don't want to ponder on one thing forever. We got 135 watching. Apparently, it's probably not showing us everyone as per usual. Make sure to press like on the video, though. That helps us get new viewers if we are pushed up in suggested videos and all that. But let's see, we got a few comments here. STEEMIT Surfer Review coming next, global freshwater tax. Yeah, well, and they've got enough regulations around freshwater and saltwater and lakes throughout Canada. Just getting a fishing license, a boating license, wearing your life jacket, then getting this kind of water license, some weird thing, some safety license, some insurance.
Well, and now also up where we live, they are looking at forcing people to actually have sewage lines being run now into their houses instead of having, even me having a holding tank. They don't want that. They are trying to push us into everybody be connected to this one system, which of course generates more money from the government instead of a private entity that actually goes and pumps my holding tank.
Yeah, absolutely. Kakan Malik says Ron Paul is an actor. His real name is Ian McKellen. You know the guy from Lord of the Rings, Sir Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
He does look kind of like him. I will admit that.
Maybe it's his double. Sometimes
Ron Paul in person really isn't that tall. So I'm just trying to picture a smaller old man with just a beard, and you shall not pass. I'm having a hard time seeing it.
I would see. I think Ron Paul would probably stand in front of the Federal Reserve. And as they're
Break
trying
it
to
in
print
half.
more money, and he would just stand there with the staff. "I shall not pass into the United States."
Yeah, and then send them all to
just
hell.
like completely fall into hell.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we are getting carried away a little bit. Let's see. We got JS or Jasabun. It's an odd name. Darling, you sound kind of off today. You probably have a minor concussion. I don't have a concussion. I don't think my girlfriend hit me really hard in the head in the sleep accidentally, and I didn't even wake up from it. I just felt it the next day, and I just got a bruise around the eyebrow. I don't know. I think I got a bit of a headache. It's a pain in the
He was
side
probably
of my head.
talking bullshit in his sleep, and then she got mad at him.
Yeah, well, maybe it's just her way to get back at me for everything. But let's see. I don't think I have a concussion. I hope not. That would be kind of terrible in my line of work. Got to think all the time. Let's see. We got a few other comments. Well, we got lots of comments. I'm just trying to find one here.
Somebody was talking
Michael
about something
Holiday
about
says kinky.
Finland. I saw something about Finland further up.
Finland. Let me see. Finland. What can we see about Finland? There's something about Iceland.
I think a little further up you'll see it soon.
Let's see. Finland.
Oh, here.
Okay, yeah. Daryl LaCour says Finland has a 52% personal income tax rate and a 24% VAT tax, free healthcare. Big deal. Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like free, but everyone's being extorted to the point where they have no money, and then they prop up major pharmaceutical rackets with taxpayer money that actually cause the price to inflate in these medicines long term. So it actually creates no innovation, no demand, no competition in the market, pushes competition out of the market so no one can create a new medicine that cures a disease. And then in that case, people also take that idea and build upon it and create a new version of it, a better quality version for a lower price. There's no ability to really innovate that market. It's all based on the government stealing people's money, giving to pharmaceutical monopolies, creating massive pharmaceutical monopolies, and having no innovation in the market, no competition under the guise of being free and helping people. More people would be helped in a free market scenario where prices are driven down by individual demand and other people working the best they can to create the best version of the product for a cheapest price. And that also pushes out intellectual property and IP laws, which really monopolize corporations as well, instead of actually allowing individuals to come up with greater ideas and curing diseases. And creating great medicines. All this virtue signaling around free healthcare just gets so absurd when you actually consider the market consequences for it.
No, totally. And when it comes to like curing, I was going to say that curing diseases, think about all the natural, healing that people can do, and all this BS with this cancer drugs and all this stuff that's been going on. It's just ridiculous, like how, the pharmaceutical industry, I call them pharmaceutical industrial complex together with the military industrial complex. They are just driven by the need to pay their shareholders. And they send that on video. Just go and look at it. Big pharma CEOs, they'll tell you that the reason why they're doing what they're doing is to give more money to the shareholders. The reason why that is because inflation is continuously going up and they need to pay more dividends out because the investors wants to beat inflation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got another comment from Michael Holiday. Have you ever heard of the Baghdad battery? What other ancient tech is the government holding back from us to keep the debt slaves down? Well, there's a lot of examples of incredible innovations from the past throughout history that have been covered up by government. One has to ponder the question, why won't the Egyptian government let us excavate in areas that have a ton of incredible marvels that would tell us a lot about our past, especially around the Giza Plateau. There are a bunch of pyramids that have been covered up, pyramids that have been exploded and have black char on them. Just insane things that there aren't any answers for, and I'm not going to claim I know the answer, but it's certainly worth wondering the answers to these questions, which the governments aren't allowing us to do. And the chambers within the Great Pyramid, the age of the Sphinx, all these things going all the way to Machu Picchu in Peru, them claiming that it was all built at the same time about 1,000 years ago, despite the fact that there's a whole bunch of different kinds of architecture, and the cutting of the stone is so precise and insane that it's unbelievable that anyone on the top of a mountain was able to piece together this amazing society. I think there's technology that has been lost to history, and I think there's a possibility that the humanity, or at least great societies, are much older than we believe them to be. I've done a lot of reports on this in the past. I'm going to be doing a lot more. I just posted a video yesterday with Adam Kokesh where he interviewed me about this. I want to go further into this. Göbekli Tepe is a great example of
11,000 years old. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, insane. But we're supposed to we're being told by our schools and indoctrination camps that the first great societies were in like 6,500 BC. BS, absolute BS. We have come past that, but one of the great things about, or one of the most terrible things about science is that scientists refuse to look at new information these days. They simply look at new information and pass it off as craziness and just tinfoil hat alternative conspiracy theories. It's the same thing we've seen with global warming. It's the same thing that we've seen with evolution. It's the same thing we've seen with ancient societies. Anyone that comes into new information would have to admit that they were wrong all this time about everything they've said, which means that they have to be stubborn and tell people that, well, based on my career, I don't want my career to be destroyed, so I'll just say that everything you're saying is crazy. Let's call them a denialist and, these kind of Holocaust connotations, and push them away so that no one's able to question the ideas. And the basis of science itself is questioning. We should be questioning everything we're told. And if we're not questioning it, then we are basically enslaved to the ideas of past people who have pushed these ideas and push anyone else out with propaganda from actually having alternative viewpoints. Alternative viewpoints are how we found out that the Earth is a globe. Yeah, I said it. The Earth is a globe.
Josh.
I know. But it came down to individuals actually questioning mainstream ideas. And we got to continue questioning mainstream ideas. Even if you are a flat earther, I think it's good. You question the mainstream ideas. Yeah. I'm not going to agree with you, but I'm not going to push you away. We should all analyze every single idea that everyone has, because ideas are how we grow in a great society. John?
Yeah, and don't let the government control any ideas. Of course, I'm on the monetary side, so I look at a lot of different things when it comes to money, economics, and so on. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. It's very hard to find, proper records of anything, after 3, 4, 5, 6,000 years BC. It's really hard to find anything because, of course, over time, not gold and silver was used at the time, but they could have been other, metals that was heavily used. But then, of course, it has dissolved probably over that time.
Well, that's one of the things that I wanted to go into is that we look at the pyramids, we see all this stuff, and it's like, well, it seems kind of Stone Age because it's all stone. Well, if there were metal, there's plastic, there was glass, anything like that, electronics. If it goes back as far as some people might believe it to be, as much as 12,000, even more years old, rather than 7,000, 8,000 years old, then in that case, we would see all these things dissolve over time. So that's all we'd have left. It's just like if everything, if there's a great cataclysm that killed us all off, what would exist thousands and thousands, 10,000, 20,000 years from now? Well, probably not this laptop that I'm using right now. The stone structure, some of it would remain, and that's important to mention. Now, I can't help but laugh. I was just thinking of this meme that I saw of an asteroid hitting the flat Earth and shooting all the dinosaurs into outer space, and that's how the dinosaurs got killed off. It was like it hit it and it flipped over, it shot all the dinosaurs into outer space. That's a good theory. Or on the back of a turtle, as Native Americans think, whatever. But hey, you know what? If you have questions, that's good. I think that people should have questions, even if they're crazy, and I think that they are ridiculous. I think people should have those questions because it allows us to evolve as a species, understanding this knowledge and debating this knowledge vigorously and trying to prove other people wrong, not being afraid to offend other people, by having another view.
Well, and also looking at new technology, like why is it so long to get fusion energy out there? That it's been, of course, with wind and solar energy, being heavily pushed by the end of 2030. It's just crazy how that has been put on the back burner, which is a huge thing. And nothing would be like it. We're creating energy, and then constantly we'll be creating energy out of, we create our own sun. So it's just, why can't we focus on like those things instead of what the government tells us to do, which is of course not terrible energy sources, but they're way better sources that we could work on to make our free energy and energy that are decentralized. Everybody is starting to have their own energy sources.
Sounds like Tesla.
Yeah.
Like actually Nikola Tesla, not the company itself.
No, exactly. That's what the future is. We talk about decentralization all the time. We have been, so much centralizing, like during the Roman Empire and so on. And now I think we're going back to decentralization. And I think with decentralizing money and energy and food supply,
decentralize everything.
We are going to be so self-sustainable on this planet, and we are going to go to other places. Let's go to the moon, let's go to Mars, let's go to Titan, let's go out of the solar system. Why not? Why don't we do it? Because we're stuck here, with NASA and others, holding us back. Why can't
certainly
NASA?
We need private companies to come in and innovate and push these government monopolies out of the market. Exactly. We would be much further along if it wasn't for NASA. But I think it's important to say, like, there aren't any answers that I know of. I'm not going to say this is the precise fact. Of course, we should question everything and we should always look for answers, but something tells me that part of the meaning of life itself is actually the mystery of what is life and how do we find that answer. And once you find that answer, what are you going to do? You have no other purpose. I think one of the great things is always looking for that answer. Exactly. And never coming down and saying, I have a complete conclusion to everything. I know everything, because there's always more to come. And I think it's great being on that journey. Now, we're going to head out right away. We're going to take another question here, and then I got to go. My head's killing me. So let me see what we got here for questions. I'm giving it a bit of time because I know there's a bit of a delay in the video. So after I say this, it comes to you like a minute later. So then you can send your questions in. So I'm just kind of killing time here while I wait for new questions. I'm going to party like it's 1984, says Lightning Rod. That's an odd thing to say. Let's see. We kind of are already partying like it's 1984. In fact, we're probably in 1985 at this point. Yeah. But let's see. And by the way, all my RFID videos and videos on facial recognition and artificial intelligence, they get like no views. Jorge Echeverry says EOS Moon. I hope so. I think that we are seeing a lot of great examples of that. Vitalik Buterin actually recently said on Twitter, and he deleted the post right after, that he believes that EOS has won. Congratulations to EOS, basically, he said. And then he said he was taking a break from developing Ethereum. I think he's got some problems going on.
Why doesn't Dan take it to the moon? Like plant, a decentralized hub.
First cryptocurrency on the moon. That would be interesting. Yeah. Let's see. We got, and EOS is one of my favorites. I can't wait till June. It's just going to be amazing. Verge has been doing some weird stuff, though it's weird because they had a recent attack and a hack, 51% attack, I believe, and they got hacked really badly, and then they forked it, and they showed that there's not much privacy to it, yet it keeps skyrocketing, like insanely, because it just got, it's being used on, I think, Pornhub and Brazzers or whatever, the porn websites now, and you can use it to pay for stuff on there, so I don't know, but right after they announced it, Verge crashed, and then it started going back up again. I don't know. It's very odd. The whole thing's very strange. But let me see. I'm just looking for a question here. Nikos and Ella Facero says, I am leaving Canada after 50 years. I don't blame you. I am dying to leave Canada. I don't know why this guy... Oh, yeah. Well, his wife. That's the reason why he immigrated to Canada. I don't know why anyone would do it, though, personally.
Well, it's like after 50 years, I see that... Nikos, if I'm right, aren't you also Greek? Yeah, I hope you're not going to Greece, going back there. But
Yeah, well,
anyways,
there's a lot of places in the world to
yeah.
move. I personally, if World War III happens, I want to be in like a micronation or something because there's not much benefit to the global establishment to take
Oh,
over
and move up in
micronations.
some mountains too. Like look at some of the mountain states like Georgia, the country in the Atlas Mountains and Switzerland. You know they've been quite safe together with Liechtenstein and other mountain pass nations like Andorra and so on. So yeah, there's it's very interesting.
I like how Smufter16 says, my favorite of you two is JS. We both have the same initials. Let's see. Which country do you find better, your own or Canada? Laura says.
Which one? Me,
Yeah,
Norway?
well, yeah.
Well, it's Canada actually, unfortunately, but that's how it is. Norway has a lot more taxes, and we have like just currently they're actually looking at removing 2,500 parking stalls in the city of Oslo. So they're making it's really Agenda 2030. It's probably one of the most together with Amsterdam. It's probably one of the most heavy Agenda 2030 cities in the world when it comes to. They actually we're looking at the Green Party. We're looking at banning traffic into Oslo at one point.
Yeah.
Which anybody. There's so many people working there. How are we going to do that with problems with the collective traffic like the trains, the buses, and so on? Doesn't have by far any enough capacity. So it's just utterly insane to try to ban all that and of course, but this is the strategy that they want to do. They want to implement this in order to bankrupt businesses and everybody else because that's the agenda 2030 is full communism.
And Lao Su says Norway has a big sovereign wealth fund, I hear. Yeah, we did a really big video on that, extensive.
Please check that out.
The thought of going over that again is like insane.
Well, let me just quickly run through. Like 70% of their fund is in equities, and it's not in private equities, it's in public equities, and they own 1.5% of all the stocks in the world, which is insane. Actually, most of their investments are just paper. So think about it. I see a lot of risk in that, especially when we have a stock bubble and a bond bubble. We're looking at they might lose, last time they lost 43 to 50% of their income. This time, they might lose even more because now they have 80% in paper, and even bonds are not going to perform well at this time.
I'm seeing someone say Vancouver Island is where it's at. It says Kenton Scales or Scales. To each their own. I mean, yeah, I guess it's better than mainland Vancouver. I mean, Victoria is a nice place and everything, but I don't know about that. Let's see. We got a few comments here. Anyway, so just going back to something I saw the Michael Holiday guy say earlier on in the video, who sent us 2 super chats so far, so I really appreciate that. He said, you guys can move in, you be my neighbors in Arizona, which would be beautiful. I love Arizona. I'm actually considering personally Las Vegas. And the reason is because I travel to these events so much. It would be super cheap. There's constantly events happening in Las Vegas. I'll admit, I do not like Las Vegas at all.
Josh loves gambling.
No, but I can't stand. I honestly, being in Las Vegas last year is just depressing. I find it a very depressing city. But with that said, it's very cheap and it's beneficial, especially when it's traveling too. Straight flights to so many different places around the world. Save a ton of money on that. And there is a lot of housing manipulation going on there, so there is some danger there. But I would say that it's good for short term, and I'm thinking of going there. I'd have to pull the whole go there for a few months, come back to Canada, and then go back there to do it legally. But yeah.
But what is important about moving away? Just try to get out of the big major metropolitan cities, because that's where you're going to see the most problems. Is because there's a lack of food there. A lot of people will be very angry. So you gotta try to stay a little bit out of in the outskirts, maybe a little bit out of the city, being way less risky than living in the middle of a city during a coming calamity that you will see at a certain point here.
Well, STEEMIT Surfer Review says Steam will be $1,000 in 3 years. You can live wherever you want. Oh man, that would be the best thing ever if Steam was $1,000.
Yeah,
it's possible, but I think it would be maybe even further than 3 years in the future, though. I hope I'm wrong. Steam is one of my favorites. Steam is going to continue to climb significantly. I think we have seen the passage of of another trend lately where we are going to be seeing an upwards trajectory for Steem in the near future. We have seen this pattern before. Steem largely pulls away from the Bitcoin trends, and same with EOS. I find not entirely, no cryptocurrencies entirely pull away
especially
from
when it's not a major sell-off. But,
Yeah, but
you know, it moves quite drastically sometimes, and it's very uncorrelated most times when it does move.
Yeah, but I think Steem, if Steem went to $1,000 in 3 years, I mean, I have a lot of Steem. That would be crazy. I'd be helping run every independent media and funding everyone, and some of you guys too. But I'd be throwing money in the air like a crazy person. Right now, I think it's at just under $3 for when Steem, which isn't bad. So anyway, just one more comment here that I saw. Nikos and Ali Fakaro says, I was in Ukraine and could live well for $1,000 Canadian per month easily.
There's certain countries around the world where it's still very affordable living. You know, some Southern American countries, of course, in Asia, there's a bunch of countries that are. There is, of course, risk. Like, you got to live there not as a citizen mostly. You should live there as a tourist. It would be way less risky than, you know, actually being there. And that's what, you know, the international man as Doug Casey and Jeff Berwick is talking about all the time, is just moving around, you know, never having to be a part of any nation, which is probably way beyond anything the best you could do right now in this massive nation state, you know, government, big blow to government situation that we're in.
Yeah, well, and I think we will wrap it up there. Like I mentioned earlier, I got hit accidentally in the head in my sleep by my girlfriend. Probably just her trying to make me forget about her in the morning, whatever. Just, I don't know. You know, we can't strike back, right? Anyway, so, you know, I got to get going. My head is killing me. So thank you for sending so many questions. I really appreciate it. We got a lot of great people watching. We reached a lot of people today. Make sure to press like on the video, subscribe, share the video. Also check the links below, including the Red Pill Expo, which takes place, of course, in Spokane, Washington, June 21st and 23rd, possibly the 24th for breakout sessions. We are going to see about that. We just have to communicate with a few people. But anyway, great event. Lord Moncton's now confirmed. Got Robert Kiyosaki, of course, G. Edward Griffin, the guy who's really putting it all on, and Patrick Wood and Alex Newman, and James Corbett and Cynthia McKinney. Lots of interesting people talking there.
Well, just last time when we were there, we had a lot of fun. I got to meet some really good friends now. Of course, Howard Lishman, Anna Pacienta, a whole bunch of those guys. You know, I was hanging out with them there. And then, of course, you know, the old guys. You know, I was hanging out with Dan Happel, G. Edward Griffin, all these great people.
The best was being able to go to dinner in Bozeman, Montana last year and just have a really long dinner with G. Edward Griffin. Since we've had several dinners with him, we've had a lot of great conversations with him. We consider him a friend, and it's really cool to be able to do what we're doing and have that connection to someone who is such a legend in the industry, going back to the 1950s in independent media and with authoring so many great books. Anyway, and someone who's influenced so many people over so many decades.
100%.
I talked with what's that Soviet-Russian's name?
Yuri Bezmenov or something?
Yeah.
I forgot the
I keep
exact
seeing
name.
quotes by him coming up everywhere, and I'm like, hey, that's from a G.
But
Edward Griffin interview.
that was a huge interview, the one that he did with the former KGB agent.
He told us some interesting stories behind the scenes that we're not going to go into, but about meeting this guy and hanging out with him, which are quite interesting.
Yeah, no kidding.
But anyway, so Red Pill Expo is going on in Spokane, Washington, June 21st and 23rd.
Follow your Vancouver rights. Get down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Join me at Libertopia. Search up libertopia.com/ref/Josh Sigurdson, all one word. And that's my reference. I should probably find that somewhere to post it in the comments. Whatever, I'm too lazy right now. And of course, Freedom Fest is coming up in July, and I'm gonna be looking towards as many big events as humanly possible. I don't think I'm going to be going to Bilderberg this year. It's just too much going on, and I'm going to be in Italy anyway, I think in August.
Well, maybe, Josh, we'll go to G30 at one point, maybe next year, because I think G30 is way bigger than Bilderberg, to be honest with you. Bilderberg is kind of out there now, like it's you know, so old school. Yeah. They found other places to hide and do secret things, and G30 is something that everybody should look up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just looking up something right now on my computer to give you guys a link at least. Let me just see here. Red Pill Expo. Okay, here is the link that everyone should look at. It'll be a little behind on here, but everyone should click on that link because that is our reference link, and it'll help us very much if you use it.
Yeah, and it's not just going out there to listen to speakers. It's just fantastic networking with people. It was the same as Anarchapulco, where you just hang out with great, fantastic people, and just really, it really drives you more. You really just get more passion for what you do and more willingness to take action, and you just get a network of people now that you work together with, and freedom becomes so much stronger when we get out there and network.
Yeah, absolutely. Networking is so important, and it's important to spread this message as individuals to other individuals, and we will continue to do that. We hope you do too. We hope you share this, and we hope to see you in Spokane, Washington. Seriously, guys, it's so great meeting so many people who watch us here on YouTube, and I always look forward to my conversations with so many of you. Thank you, Mark Needham. He says, God bless everyone and good luck. God bless you too. And Nikos and Ella Facaro, thumbs up. Lots of people on the chat. We appreciate being able to connect with all of you. That is a great part of our job here at WAM, is being able to talk to so many people. The mainstream medias are so separated from their viewers to such a great extent, and it's great to be able to talk to as many as humanly possible. So that's another one of the reasons we do this. That's how you learn about
the world. You gotta know people from all over the world, and you get a way better view on the world than somebody that been at a school in the United States, not to make fun of that, but a government school.
Or in Canada or anywhere, public indoctrination camps anyway. But anyway, it's one of the reasons that we do these live streams, being able to connect with everyone. STEEMIT Surfer Review says, thanks guys, hope Steam gets to 1,000 before bread costs $20. I agree, that could be any day now, and it could actually cause Steam to go up to, well, actually, now that I think of it, if we're judging it by fiat, then it'll definitely be at $1,000 in no time.
Well, it'll be probably no fiat.
Yeah, well, we hope so, but on the way Bitcoin. In hyperinflation. Yeah, but anyway, we're gonna end it off right there. So thanks for joining us, everyone, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Snyson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.